Welcome to Module 2C, the future tense. We will briefly touch upon the simple future tense, the future perfect tense, and the future progressive tense. Additionally, we will introduce the different modal auxiliary verbs we use when we discuss how to make predictions about the future and the various ways we can do that. First, we have the simple future tense. The simple future tense indicates a state or an action that will take place later on in the future. The simple future tense is formed by using the auxiliary verb will before the simple present tense form of the verb. These are pretty straightforward. Like example 1 here. The students will pass the course. Or the teacher will be happy. Note that the simple future states that the action or state of being will happen or exist in the future time frame. We will look at a little bit about various auxiliary verbs that can be used to describe varying levels of certainty or expectation associated with future actions. Next, we have the future perfect tense. The future perfect tense indicates an action will have taken place or a state of being will exist sometime in the future. The future perfect tense is formed by using the auxiliary verbs will and have plus the past participle form of the verb. As we can see, the auxiliary verb will indicates the time frame and also makes it easy to identify we're dealing with a future perfect tense as opposed to a present perfect or a past perfect. Let's look at some examples here of how these work. They will have eaten dinner by 5:30. So by the time frame of 5:30, dinner will have been eaten. Right? So we're given a time frame through a prepositional phrase, and we know that the state of completion of the action will be in effect by that time frame. Number 2 here we have, they will have heard pastor's sermon. We're not given an exact time frame, but eventually, in the future, they will have the completed action of having heard pastor's sermon. And finally, number 3, they will have learned the Lord's Prayer after this semester. Note, these prepositional phrases do help give us the time frame for when the future action will have been completed. However, we must remember that it is often the state of completion that is in view. The action itself may have happened completely and be finished well before the time frame given, but it will not be so after that time frame, if the prediction proves true. Next, we have the future progressive. The future progressive tense is used to talk about continuous action over a period of time in the future. The future progressive is formed by using the auxiliary verbs will and the auxiliary verb be, plus the present participle form of the verb. Here are some examples to illustrate how these work. He will be learning how to write. Note we're looking at the future time frame, and we're seeing an action that will be in the process of happening, but we're not really given a time frame. However, in example 2, John will be working out from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. We're given a time frame. At a certain time in the future, this action will be taking place. And lastly, they will not be on their phones during class. Once again, this prepositional phrase gives us a time frame when this action will not be in effect. So ultimately, the future progressive has in mind a state of the action continually happening, and with adverbs and prepositional phrases we can communicate when that action will be taking place in a given time frame. Here in this example, we can see various auxiliary modal verbs being used. The first of which, he will finish his paper, is high on the certainty level. We have a high level of certainty that this event will take place. Versus, he may finish his paper introduces a lower level of certainty. It may happen, it may not happen. Versus, he might finish his paper might convey an even lower level of certainty. Now, it's not just certainty that this can affect, but also expectation. He must finish his paper. This modal verb must says little about whether or not it's going to happen, but whether or not it should happen. It's a level of expectancy. We expect him to, or else something bad might happen. Right? Or he can finish his paper. This is more neutral. It's in the realm of possibility. Whether it will, whether it won't happen, whether it should, whether it shouldn't happen is not really in question. Just that it is a possibility. We're just stating it's possible that he could finish his paper. Versus he could finish his papers is similar to can. It's actually the past tense of that and is used in various situations. We won't go into too much detail now. Or he would finish his paper. This is usually conditional. He would finish his paper if someone brought him some caffeine to work on it tonight. Right? It gives a condition. This would happen if something else were to take place. Versus once again, he should finish his paper, or he ought to finish his paper, goes back to that expectancy. He should do it. He ought to do it. Versus the level of certainty, he will, he may, or he might. And so you can see, using different auxiliary verbs, we can convey different levels of certainty and different levels of expectation. And so using these appropriately will help us be able to communicate more effectively. Thank you for watching this short video on future tense verbs. I hope it was helpful for you in understanding the various ways we can talk about the future and levels of certainty, but also levels of expectation. With practice, things will become more clear over time. But as always, go ahead and click that like button below if you liked what you saw today, and we'll see you again next time.